9.Sriwijaya Pre-Islam Book Chapter 9 by Santosaba. The holy ritual is carried out in the morning, namely reciting the salvation mantra. At dusk before evening, doing it again. The sacred ritual around the object in the Kadachuan is circling the object. The current temple complex is outside the stone fence which was previously high above the head. Moving circling the site to the right is the opening. To the left is the closing. Ritual of this movement is identical to the opening and closing of the bolt on the nut, with an odd number of turns 1, 3, 7, 9 and 13 turns. The sacred ritual surrounding this object was later known as Pradaksina in Buddhism and Prasawiya in Hinduism, as well as Tawaf. Samadhi is a process of education in Dharmic rituals. The origin of the word bersama, diri, to know God. The literacy of the word God has existed in pre-Islamic times in Kadachuan. This is not Hindu Buddhist teachings but these teachings that underlie its growth and the development of Hindu Buddhist teachings in India. The center of the puja, which is now called the Muaratakas temple complex, in pre-Islamic times is a sacred area. Besides a place for sacred rituals, it is also used to carry out taking blessings and endorsements. 1. Welcome and release of the Datu. 2. Release of the Brahmin who finished education, graduation. 3. The place for swearing in the title Datu, Rshi, Raja Vanua. 4. Place of coronation, title of top leadership of the country. Persumpahan, Kadachuan Sriwijaya, Talaga Batu inscription, which has a carving of 7 dragon heads at the top of the inscription. The Persumpahan section is written under the dragon's headdress, at the bottom of the area where a water channel is written. What influence does the water have? Question mark. Metaphysics comes from the Greek language, which consists of 2 words, namely meta and physika. Meta means after or behind something and physika means real, concrete that can be measured by the reach of the 5 senses. The name Metaphysics was given by Andronikos of Rhodes in 70 BC on the works that were compiled after the physics book. It was not because of physics that metaphysics existed, but coincidentally because the physics book appeared, the term metaphysics was published. Meta means after or behind something from physika that cannot be measured by the reach of the 5 senses. In the previous archipelago scientists it is called clinic or old science. Clinic is also associated with many things that cannot be understood by reason but believed by many people are called superstition. In English is called superstition, is something that is considered based solely on imagination alone. This is because something not logical is difficult to reason. Clinic. In the indigenous cultural traditions of Indonesia, in this case the Javanese culture, is something that is hidden or something that is kept secret from the public, because it requires deep understanding to be understood. In Javanese culture there is a science called old science, namely knowledge that is taught to those who are mature in their consciousness. This is intended so as not to be misused or misinterpreted. Such knowledge is called clinic. This term is now another distorted teaching or religion. The truth can only be understood by those who pursue higher knowledge. In Islam it is called makrifat. For ordinary people, the truth of religion is quite believed. This is what is called clinic, not magic or duality, Hyang Widi Tunggal. The concept of identity is important because it explains that reality has a limited nature, so it is possible to know. Likewise, Sriwijaya identity, which together with its name attaches the phrase curse written on the inscription, wherein what is Sriwijaya, why is there curse enshrined on the inscription. Curse is an incident where the curse maker has reached the level of mature in his consciousness, or it is called makrifat. For ordinary people this truth is unreachable. How can a curse happen for its transgressors? Curses can happen. In physics we can be terminated by the law of energy retention. That energy remains, cannot be created and destroyed, but can be converted into other forms. So, shedding curse is energy, which converted by curse makers who remain as long as this universe exists, constant. How or where is the location of learning to reach the level of human maturity in consciousness, or it is called makrifat, so as to be able to make or mark an area by writing a warning on an inscription stone. In South Sumatra around Palembang Maro Jambi there are Gumpung temple sites, Candi Tinggi, Candi Gedong Ian II, Kadatan Temple, Astano Temple. This is a place of learning. Dharmic. Marked with buildings made of red bricks and black stones in the archipelago. This is not Buddhism. Learning center. Chinese pilgrims are here to study, not to bring teachings from their country to spread here. Palembang was not the center of the previous Buddhist teachings. Make no mistake, in the pre-Islamic period there were no recorded Buddhist missionaries as well as Hinduism coming to the Indonesian archipelago bringing teachings from India to the archipelago, but they came here bringing teachings from here to their country. Sangharama University. Dharmic. Learning center in Svarnadvipa named Dharma Phala, in the location of the Holy City, which is the center of the puja and the coronation place of the Dachuak, as well as the king of the Vatsal Vanua Mandala named Muodakui, is now published as the Muara Takus site. In 13 Kodo District, Kampar Riau Regency. Niniak Dachuak Gaho Dubalai, successor to the Sriwijaya Kadachuan. Sriwijaya is not in the form of kingdom, but Kadachuan, and if there is a name of a figure in Sriwijaya with the word Raja, it does not mean that he is king in the general sense of a king who decreases his power to his son. The government control, Kadachuan, is the husband of one of his daughters, Si Ampu, who is called Dachuak, who carries out government and customs are assisted by several Dachuak, among others, Filled Circle the Ampu. Filled Circle Commander-in-Chief Filled Circle Malam Filled Circle Clever. The word Dachuak is only in the central area of the Kadachuan, apart from this it is called Datuk and Dachuak, namely the leader of Vatsal Vanua Kingdom. Vinanga Katua or Minanga Katwa is the Kadachuan region which is headquartered in Katanka, a location on the hill of the Katanka region. Marked Kodo, which has a number at the center of the certificate with 13 Kodo. Sriwijaya Kadachuan with the matrilineal system, namely the holder of government control was continued from the mother lineage which was called Si Ampu. In the pre-Islamic era it was called Shanghyang Dui Pudi. In the Vatsal Vanua Kingdom area this was called Bundo Kanduang, or Ratu, with the term K Rachuan, Keratin. The central Kadachuan, when called and known as Sriwijaya, namely the year 458 AD pre-Islam, was marked by the construction of a tower in the center of the puja which is now called Malagai Stupa Temple, in the Muara Takus temple complex. Successors and their customary order is still complete until now marked with tribal names, including Kanyago, Badi, Piliong, Patapang, Domo. Muaratakas site which makes it not Babylonian, Indian or other. The initial site is what is now called Tuo Temple. It existed before the time of Solomon as well as before the global disaster of Noah's flood, was built by the pre-Sriwijaya ancestors of the Indonesian nation. The current form is 5 times overlay with red bricks of 5 generations of his predecessors long before Christ. Then the Kadachuan in the post-Islamic era, namely the 7th century, 20th century, when the leader of the Kadachuan was named Shanghyang Datu Indra Brahman. At the initiative of Si Ampu, Shanghyang Dui Pudi was the 3rd generation ordering to write a letter to Caliph Umar bin Abdul Aziz. To the Umayyad Caliphate whose capital is in Turkey, the letter is still stored in the Turkey Museum. Sangharama branch in India called Nalanda, branch in Javadvipa named Vwana Chaka Phala is now published as Borobudur. This is the place to study the teachings of the archipelago's ancestors from the Sailendra dynasty, in the pre-Islamic era long before Siddhartha Gautama was born, and there are Buddhist teachings in India. So Borobudur is not based on Buddhist teachings. It was our ancestors who brought the teachings of Dharma out of the archipelago, and there were no preachers or Indian saints, both Buddhists or pre-Islamic Hindus who came to the archipelago of Indonesia before. This is the son of the archipelago who is recorded as carrying the original teachings of the previous Indonesian archipelago which later underlies the birth of Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism in India. Filled Circle Dharmadasa 700 to 620 BC Filled Circle Dharmapala 670 to 580 BC Filled Circle Suvarnadvipa Dharmakirti 610 BC 520 BC Filled Circle Kumarila Bata I 618 to 540 BC Filled Circle Adi Sankara 569 to 537 BC Filled Circle Kri Janayasa 6th century AD Maharesi Markandeya 9th century AD. Original Dharmic, which produces graduates of the quality as mentioned above, and those graduates go on a holy journey, Siddhartha, bringing Dharma, Dhamma, throughout the archipelago is perfectly kept in Bali. This original Dharmak was the forerunner to the birth of the teachings that later became Buddhism, Jaina and Hinduism in India. Filled circle in 563 to 483 BC, was born Siddhartha Gautama, the figure of Buddhism. Filled circle in 549 to 477 BC, was born Mahavira, the figure of Jainism. In the 9th century AD, the British era in India was born a religion that did not originate from a founder or one point in time as other religions to distinguish neither the two before nor Islam. The most complete, 9.Sriwijaya, inscription is engraved on the Talaga Batu inscription, which has a carving of 7 dragon heads at the top of the inscription. The Persumpahan section is written under the dragon headdress. At the bottom of the plain a water channel is written that forms a spout in the middle. Holy water that is poured from above flows down to the spout. The water is collected in a bowl to be drunk to those who take the oath of allegiance. Water. The chemical formula is H2O, where each molecule contains 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogen atoms connected by a covalent bond. The energy in water molecules becomes high when the hydrogen bonds are not maximal, such as when water molecules are close to the surface or groups hydrocarbons. Therefore, physical chemical reactions as well as biology will occur in human growth, or the energy that is converted will react to those who swear if they violate or obey. That is, by using this water energy, and the human body will react through the media of water according to human treatment automatically. This is the metaphysical process which is meant after or behind something from the physics that cannot be measured by the reach of the 5 senses. This swear applies from the crown prince to the washerman. If you are not loyal to me, you will die by this curse. Eternal peace will be the fruit that this curse produces, is the thread in the Persumpahan inscription. 9.Sriwijaya, events at the puja center that are routinely carried out jointly by figures and the king of Vanua kingdom are carried out, among others. 1. Regular meeting once a month by the Mother Goddess, in pre-Islamic times. 2. Routine meetings once a year by the Dachuak and Si Ampu, or mothers are carried out ceremonies and rituals at the center of the puja, after which they move to a wider area in the large courtyard beside the Supreme Court building 100 meters west of the old temple called Mabuai. 3. Routine meetings every 3 years attended by all those mentioned above in pre-Islamic times. The one who carried out the wheels of government was his brother. If the male brother was not found, it fell on the son. If not, it was chosen from the male grandson from the daughter. If not, if the choice is obtained, then the choice is made from among the younger siblings who are sisters. If not found, the choice is also directed at the sister of the mother who is a younger sibling. In the previous period before 78 AD, the name of the leader or Pukuk leader called Puchik Alam Pulau Poko. Among them are 1. Shanghyang Prabhu Maharajadaraja Makawi, origin of the word Agarwood. 2. Shanghyang Prabhu Maharajadaraja Makari, origin of the word Kuri, of the sun. 3. Shanghyang Prabhu Maharajadaraja Makori, origin of the word Kori, Karas. It was during the leadership of Shanghyang Prabhu Maharajadaraja Makawi. This is where the port of Baras became famous because it was the port where all the incoming and outgoing ships had to take a permit. Mother Dewey or Padma Dewey has a parentage from Mother Mina Katua, Tua Sakato, which is now published in an area called Minang Kabau, Mother Dampu on Mount Dempo, Mother Sima in Mount Basma to her son named Brahma, now on Mount Bromo, Java. In the 7th generation of the Malam, a son named Bathara Tapa Nali had a child named Opung Distance Marabu. From here his descendants made Marga. While Dharma Raya, Dharma Sreya, was a descendant of the Dadu race in Kadachuan, namely Shanghyang Dui Pudi Indamo, from several of them. 1. Shanghyang Dui Pudi Inda Dunia 2. Shanghyang Dui Indo Jati 3. Shanghyang Dui Pudi World Indo 4. Shanghyang Dui Pudi Indo Mayang 5. Shanghyang Dui Pudi Indo Meda. Shanghyang Dui Pudi Indamo. Her male brother has the title Dachuik Indamo. In Eslampur, his nephew has grown up in a Sityung. Dharmasreya has grown to Paryongan, built a palace for his nephew's daughter in Pagaruyang, with the name of the country, Surwaso. In the Batasankar the title is Daduk Rajo at the hall. The source of the literacy origin of the word Minang Kabau is the word originally derived from the Srivijaya center, namely the word Mananga Tamuan, the letter U. In the original Naghori word in Kadachuan, Mananga is taken from the name of the pre-Islamic mother, Bunda Mona, the mother of the place. The scholars and dignitaries gathered, Mananga Tamuan, is sometimes interpreted to be a meeting place for two rivers. The literacy of the word Tamuan is identical to the philosophical meaning of the bee animal or wasp, which has a government system of mother or queen. In this philosophical wasp bee is illustrated in the Dadu's clothes were yellow stripes on the sleeves. Mananga is distorted into the word Minang. Only the kingdom of Singosari called the word Manang during the British colonial period, called Manang. In the Dutch colonial era, it changed to the word Manang, plus the word Kabau, which means buffalo, plus the publication of stories about the buffalo who won the fight, as a tactic invaders pitting one another. Nalanda University in Bihar, India is a branch of the university in Sriwijaya Nusantara, named Dharmapala. This is the center of learning and teaching the teachings of Dharmic original, which later underlies the birth of Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism in India. Watch this. Chinese pilgrims who came to the Indonesian archipelago earlier to learn the teachings of our ancestors, they did not come to bring Buddhism and then spread it here. The Chinese pilgrim It Shing, 635 to 713, left his country for an area called Kin Chio, Kinti Tanah Emas, Sriwijaya, former Indonesia. It Shing calls Sriwijaya Fo Che, Boha Boga, or the Chinese version of Che Li Fo Che. The city of Boga is the holy city, center of Dharmic learning in the long pre-5th century BC, with its landmark site of Muaratakus, through which the equinox passes. This shadowless point proves that the word Ceylon was found in the books, of which the book Mahavamsa is not Sri Lanka at this time, but is located in Kampar Riau, Sumatra, Indonesia, the complex area of early Dharmic teaching and learning education. Other evidence. In 399 to 414 AD, Fa Huan on a journey in Sriwijaya noted, following the river Po Nai, is the river Panai, Kampar, in the place where students had lived there and made the movement of walking in circles around Tope, or the stupa. There are also 4 teachers sitting in 4 corners, in which the tower has been erected. What Fa Huan sees and records is a holy ritual of rotating movements around an object named Pradaksina, Prasawiya, Tawaf in Muaratakus. Sung Yun 518 to 521 AD records the existence of a power which he calls Saka Kasatrapas, from the identification of coins which are thought to have existed around 225 AD with the image of Tope, or the Muaratakus stupa. Filled circle in the years 602-664 AD, Hyan Sang recorded what he saw in Sriwijaya. Next to it was a stupa built by the king, about 200 feet high. Near this there is a sign where the Tathagata is walking to and fro. Fa Hien, 337-422 AD, started his journey 399 to 412 AD, departing from Chang'an, crossing Lung. After crossing the Indus, the distance across the southern Indian Sea is 4 to 5 million li. Until anchored on a flat land without a valley, there is a river, going to the southeast less than 80 yojanas. We passed many temples with a number of priests in them. Having passed the place we arrived called Motu Lo. Following the river Pu Na, right and left there are 20 sangharamas with 3,000 priests. The climate here is evenly warm without snow. The people are very rich. There are no taxes or official restrictions. In all the land, people don't kill poultry, doves don't drink wine, they don't eat garlic, they don't raise pigs, don't drink wine. The chiefs build sangharama for the priests. Go west to arrive at the village Na Lo. This is the birthplace of Sariputra, therefore a tower has been erected. Upatissa village, known as Nalaka, lived a very intelligent young man named Sariputra. Her mother was Sarika or Rupasari. Because of her mother's name she was called Sari Putra. His father was Mathara, a Brahmin surnamed Durganaka. Because he was the son of the village leader, he was also sometimes called Upatissa. In the place of the priests, there was a Sangharama built. Here they made a tower to honor Sariputra, Mudgalaputra, also to honor Abhidharma, Vinaya and Sutra. From the south of the city, continuing south 4 li, we entered a valley situated between 5 hills, completely encircling like a wall. This is the site of the old city of King Pian Po Salo. Continues to the book Sriwijaya Pra Islam chapter 10 by Santosaba.